Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Fireside stream. I am your host, Raymond McNeil, and joining me, as always, is the immortal Mollie Rhymemaster, who is getting the wonderful Tiny Weiss to join us as well. Also joining us on my side is a cat.
Cat.
He is very cute.
People tune in for the cat.
How's everyone doing today?
Let's see. It looks like Nami Nom Noms is going to send something in.
Oh.
He's struggling with the word count, but we like reading your stuff. So if you're a little bit over, we'll still take a crack at it.
Yeah, we might end like halfway through, but it's not a problem.
Yeah.
You're so. This guy wants so much attention right now. He is such a needy kitty cat.
Aw.
But yes, you can tell that I'm here, nice and fresh-faced, mostly because the old face is still peeling off from the sunburn. I just got back from vacation. It was not a vacation that I took willingly, but I still ended up enjoying it all the same. And now I'm wishing I was still on vacation because me and Fat Man are in the heat of editing Volume 5 script, and it is driving me insane. So...
Someone at Moopo asked if that's Volume 7 Tiny Weiss. This is Tiny Weiss in a Yankees shirt that I had on a different stuffed animal that fits her. So I thought it's cute that she's wearing it. She also has shoes.
Yeah, Tiny Weiss accessorizes.
Yeah, Tiny Weiss is drip. I don't know what else to tell you. It looks like Anime is saying wrong one. Like, he must have sent you one.
All right.
And... yeah. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired today. A little bit out of it.
Gotta track down Anime. Yeah, you gotta tell me when you do that, man. I don't know if I just missed the message or if you updated it and edited it.
I did. I deleted the old one a long time ago and placed a new one.
You gotta tell me that. You can't just do that. You can't just update that. All right. Okay, well, yes. So today's talk. Do we want to say any? Oh, that's right. Brief drink out for Kiryu Coco for that VTuber that's retiring today. Woman stood up to China and won, as far as I'm concerned, and for that she deserves my eternal respect.
Okay. Moopo, Yankee Weiss with no brim. Also, to address the humble Hafrican. Yes, I did get the updated story, and yes, we will read that.
Yes, so drinks out for her. She's being shunted for bullcrap reasons. It's wonderful like that. So anyway, today we are covering trope twisting. We're just the idea of taking a trope and twisting it on its head. It's a very nebulous prompt, and we recognized that even when we made it, because we were just kind of fumbling for prompt ideas. But hopefully we can get some interesting looks at tropes in here. Kind of give us a new perspective on things. So, yeah, we want to hop right into it. Any words you want to say, Mollie?
All right, we're good.
All right, so we have 6 submissions by the looks of things. We have Anime AK, Moopa, Frontier, Paste Ben, Poncho, and the Hafrican. So let's I guess we'll do in the normal order where we alternate. I'll go first.
Hold on. Can you send me the link to the correct Anime AK thing?
Right. I was going to do that. I went and meet the post it on my screen. There you go. Okay. Salem's. This is from Anime AK. Salem's Throne Room. Grimlands. Remnant. 15...
Hold on. One thing. Did you get Poncho's submission?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually, when I posted it to you, I accidentally labeled it as Pasteben. But, yeah, and so I changed it. I fixed it. So here we go. So this is Meant for Another. Trope Survivor's Guild. Okay. Salem Throne Room, Grimlands, remnant 15 years before the fall. Duran looked up from the rubble he was under, dust nearly getting in his exposed eye. He tried to move, but only slightly, confined to brick and mortar. Summer? Ty? He called out for his mentors. Pulling with all his might, he finally freed his legs, but they felt numb, unmoving. Looking around again, he saw his hand cannon a few feet away from him.
If you say something is feeling numb, you don't need to say that they aren't moving.
Fair. I mean, things can feel numb and still move.
I know, but if your legs are feeling numb, the implication is they aren't moving. Usually.
Yeah. I might schism there with you a little bit. I think it's fine for him to designate the unmoving thing.
Okay.
A few feet away, using his gauntlets possessive grappling hook.
Yeah, that's a
brief thing there. He pulled it to his left hand, or pulled it to his. I don't know why I added left. He pulled it to his hand. Yet comma as it was in his grasp.
There should be another comma.
Something dropped from above him and crushed his left arm. Jesus! All right, okay, we're going hard into the body horror here, right here. He screamed in pain, dropping his weapon to hold his broken arm. A veiny hand came down fast to hold him up by his neck. He struggled to... you're doing a lot of...
I was about to say, it's very kind of SVO.
Very SVO, where it's bop, 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 bop. It's not... Again, SVO is not bad grammatically. It makes sense. It just doesn't sound right to the ears.
Also, a minor lore thing, but you're saying this is Grimlands. It should be Grim with 2 M's. But yeah, the thing is about SVO is that it's okay to use it in like every now and then, but it's kind of like, imagine if you had a song where every note lasted the same amount of time. Like, your sentences should be more varied than that, or else it just becomes very like writing kind of like it's a piece of music. You want to really vary it so it has that dynamic to it.
My feels numb when it falls asleep, but I can move it. Well, I'm glad your feels are numb. Like, that's good feels to have.
Like writing and music are kind of similar in that way, where there are certain types of ways to write it to get across specific feelings. If you're trying to get a more energetic or tense song, you make the notes shorter so they're faster. If you're trying to do a more melancholy or peaceful song, you make the notes longer. Tense scenes, you should be writing shorter sentences with some long ones like interspice, but it should be very like short, intense sentences. And if you want to write something peaceful, you should be using kind of longer, more casual sentences. If you're writing something where someone is in like this horrifying situation, it's not coming across as horrifying. It's coming across very casually to me. Yeah, like if I was going to write something like this, I'd focus a lot more on how he's feeling and his kind of presence in the situation. Because, you know, the thing is about to really get across, if you're trying to get across panic, you can't really just say like he panicked, because that's really boring. Like anything, you want to get into the nitty gritty of it.
Talk about like I always
like you know, his head like swiveled back and forth trying to see where the next attack was coming from.
There's a physicality to it, like
more like
his breath started picking
shuddered.
up. His breath was picking up. His eyes were flickering. He was craning his head to try and look for something to save himself with.
Or if someone is in like a lot of pain, you start using stuff like, you know, the corners of their eyes went black, like they're tunnel visioning, like things like that, to really get across the emotion of why I should care about this. You have to connect to that human level of it, where I should be able to understand why this is a person I should connect with, because I have never been in a situation like this, thankfully, and I hope I never am. So I don't know what it's like. But if you describe things kind of like that the average person has experienced, like, you get anxious and your breathing increases, or it speeds up, or, your heartbeat increases, things like that, I can connect with and really feel what this character is going through.
What I typically like doing is one of two methods where you either front load or back load the statement of it is pain. So I would like describe everything that the character is going through. Like, okay, this thing falls on his arm and he watches this rock fell on his arm and crushed it, and fire lanced up through his elbow and like coalesced around his shoulder, burning away at the skin, like describing like these intense, describing the feelings themselves. Like, what is that sensation? Try to describe the sensation of pain. And then, like, once you've successfully described it, then it's okay to say he let out a scream of agony or something like that. Like, that kind of punctuates, it kind of like gives a nice little punctuation to what you just described and lets you kind of couch that, okay, so that's agony. That's sort of what's going on there.
I love this stream so far. Thank you, Peter. It's because I'm awake today to an extent. I'm tired. Like, yeah, I'm yawning, but I feel like I'm in the zone here. So the humanity of it is the most important part of any writing. Unless you're describing a diagram or a chemical reaction, I need to understand why I should care. I mean, that's really the big thing. Like, you have to ask yourself, why is it that I don't really get anything from something like Last of Us 2, but I can feel something from Final Fantasy 7? One's a lot prettier than the other. What is it that makes us connect more with Final Fantasy 7, 1997 PS1 game, than Last of Us 2, the 2020 PS4 game?
Tifa's breasts.
The actual answer is the humanity of it. Last of Us 2 is just very gritty and very dark, and it just throws that at you over and over again, that you should feel bad, and you should feel like this, and you should feel like that. Whereas something like Final Fantasy VII, it actually gives you a lot of time to relate and humanize, like feel that these characters are people, and that you can relate to them that way. Not because of what they're going through, but because of who they are. So, when Tifa falls and hits her head on the airship, or the airship? What was it that crashed? Like, late in the game, she hits her head and gets knocked out. I've never been hit in the head so hard that I've gone unconscious for several days, but I understand that Tifa is a person with goals and feelings, and so some of which I relate to because I'm a human too. And I feel bad that she got hurt because I like her. Here, I have no idea who this dude is. He's an OC that is connected to Summer and Ty somehow. We know that. And all you're describing is what's happening to him. And in my mind, he's just like a stick figure that I'm watching things happen to.
Yeah. It's really hard to describe. I'm trying to think of like the best way to phrase that stuff. Also, I just realized I need to change this. Properties of the chat box. Please keep talking. Height, I believe, is like 600. Be good. Save. Oh my god, that's perfect. There we go. All right.
Moopo says Final Fantasy VII allows itself to breathe and has confidence that it's told well enough to not need to clarify what the emotional beats are. Exactly. That's a really good way to describe it. It doesn't need to force you to do anything, like to feel anything. You just feel it.
Yeah, it's really weird when you get to the point as a writer where that actually ends up coming like kind of second nature to you. You start like the mechanics of the story start becoming more important than the description, because you're just so confident, like, I know how to convey how this feels. You kind of get to that point at some point where it's like, I know how to convey what this character is going through. It's really hard. I'm trying to think of how to allocate it. Since I was late in turning in this submission. Good to know I can use this.
Somebody talks about Berserk and how it's the moments of levity that help humanize everyone. You could say the same thing about a lot of like very grim, dark stuff. Attack on Titan is a great example. You know, I don't know if I should spoil it if there are people who haven't seen season 4 yet, but like when a character dies, you care more if we've seen them be a person beforehand. If it's just a person who has constantly been angry and angsty and emo and they die, I don't really care, because that's not how people usually are, and that's annoying. So I'm like, okay, but if we see the person has been happy and has real, like, very kind of down to earth goals and aspirations.
A good example of this, a comparison between Joker and Cruella, the two movies that came out and that they're being thrust together. In Joker,
girl boss Joker.
Yeah. In Joker, we see the slow deterioration of a man who is very unfortunate, very, like, just not in a good headspace, has all these mental illnesses going on, a man struggling against himself and ultimately losing. And it's a fight we want him to win, but we know he's not going to. It's a tragedy. And we relate to that because we also know people, or maybe even ourselves, situations where we just can't win. We just can't, like, the universe conspires against us to prevent us from winning, and we relate to that. And there's some catharsis to watching someone, even if it's the wrong thing to do, taking control of his life. You know, even if it's a horrible thing to do, or like, it's not the right thing, but you're kind of in his corner, you're kind of not. Like, you recognize the bad thing he's doing, but you're also like, this guy is like, he's finally found a way to release himself from all this misery.
And they have Cruella, who's just like
literally a thief from the get-go. Like, she is just a horrible person from word go and never faces consequences in her life.
Yeah.
Anime guy. Okay,
all
so
right,
I feel like we're harping on you a lot here, but like, we used you as a springboard for a much deeper dissection in things. It just you come so early on. That's gonna happen. Our first real big thing is gonna be covered by you.
All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, little bastard did Ozpin.
Ozpin.
Honestly,
I'm picturing like the fucking like Wojak implying.
Ozpin think 2 silver-eyed warriors and the Dragon of the West was enough to kill me? Yet I have to commend your willingness to die for your dear parents. Please do tell me your last words before I pop your head from its socket.
Heads aren't connected to sockets.
Yeah, that's the first issue I have there. Second, I don't know if this is like what Salem would say. Salem never struck me as a visceral type.
Also,
of
silver-eyed should have a hyphen. It's like very minor, but
yeah. When he felt the pressure release just enough for him to talk, he had only 3 words to say. It's a comma. You're actually, I will say this, you've improved in the fact that you're not doing the weird comma period thing that you've been doing as much. You did it here, but that was like the first time that really stood out to me that you did it. Like, I hadn't noticed that before at all. So you're getting better at that. You're getting better at controlling yourself. So we criticize you again because, like, you have that room for improvement. You're getting there. It's just, for everyone, it's very slow. I learned Japanese at a very slow rate. Vivi will tell you. She's frustrated with me and how slow I learn Japanese. But just some people learn at different speeds. It's okay, man. So don't think we're picking on you unnecessarily, man. We're just trying to refine you.
I am not, like, I think I've used this before, but I am not a math like, I've never been a natural math student. I've always struggled in math classes, and really kind of had difficulties with some basic things. Like I mean, I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't one of these like super geniuses from the get go where everybody knows that you're going to be like a computer science doctorate or something. However, I did put in the effort, and after a lot of trying, I was able to start doing really well in my classes and eventually got, I was able to pass with pretty good grades a lot of these very advanced math courses just because I put in a lot of time and effort into it, not because I have some sort of natural talent for math. Not everything is like one of these easy, oh, if I do it for a few months, I'll get really good. It takes a lot of time.
How's your husband? Salem grit her teeth. I know it's weird, but it's technically gritted. Or, well, is this past or present tense? She started.
It's past.
So it would be gritted. Trust me, that gets me weird all the time. I always think it should be grit. That's not on you. That's genuinely just a weird quirk of grit. Gritted her teeth, and she started to strangle the man again. A sickening grin now formed on her face. She felt his grip on her arm start to loosen. The fire of his life in his eyes started to slowly fade. Then Salem felt something off. She looked to see that her young prey was on the ground coughing up a storm, and her arm turning to ash. She looked to the source to see Summer
Hold
Rose.
On. She looked. You should have a directionality to it. This is very SVO again, but if anything, there should be directionality to look. She looked down and saw her young prey was on the ground coughing up a storm. She looked aside and her arm was turning to ash. Something like that, because it's a kind of a clunky sentence otherwise.
The problem I'm having here is sort of like, I don't have like... It's sounding like this guy is fairly young, the one that's in her grasp. So using the young prey to describe Summer, I guess? Because, like, I was confused, like, but she's holding her young prey. She's literally gripping him by the throat. Like, so what? So you're confusing me on who's doing what here. Grit is an action.
Yeah, wait, she looked to the source. The source of what?
Looked to the source to see Summer Rose still alive with, along with Tai Yang.
The source of what?
The thing that was turning her arm to ash.
Oh.
I presume this is Summer using her silver eyes, which again, it's kind of weird.
Okay, again, it's very like... It's very just kind of plain, like you're just... I remember the first time I tried helping someone with writing, they had this really, really badly, and I said, it sounds like you're writing a police report. Don't write like it's a police report.
Yeah, Moopa's great. She, he, they, looked, saw, noticed is very much kind of a filler type deal. They have their place. It's not that they're completely filler, but they are usually used as padding. It's sort of like when you're given a thesis statement, when you're writing like a thesis book, it's typically, we don't think of it in any terms these days because of how people have learned how to do 5-paragraph essays. They've been really poorly conveyed. But when you're giving an essay, say in school, and you're saying things from your perspective, saying "I think" is already presumed. Like you're writing the paper. You're the one giving this. You're the one making these statements. Saying "I think," no, you already think. Like, we know that you already think what's written on this paper. You don't need to say "I think." It's completely superfluous. Just say the thing. But because of how we've evolved as a society, we've gotten into this, like, we need to couch our language for whatever reason because we're afraid of criticism. We're afraid of getting attacked. And so, and it carries over into literature, weirdly enough, where it doesn't even have a point of attack. It's like, oh, she noticed. No, just she looked down and saw. Just that is an action that she took. Let Salem say fuck. No, that's my next complaint. Oh, for fuck's sake, no. This is a Ruby story. Like, it was.
There should also be a comma after that if you really insist.
Yeah. Remember this. It was
And
a
after O.
legitimate shock. There are 2 points I remember being legitimately shocked by Ruby's language use. And that was in Volume 3, when Emerald called Yang a bimbo. And then in Volume 4, when Tyrion called Ruby a bitch. Those hadn't even occurred to me that anyone would use that kind of language in Ruby. And yet they did. Using fuck, I think, is a hard line. You're not going to get fuck out of Ruby.
Yeah, actually, there's like a certain, as far as the U.S. goes, there's a certain like tiering to swear words, where it's like, oh, if you say hell or damn, that's like PG. If you say bitch or shit, that's PG-13. If you say fuck, that's an R.
And if you say the C word, that's automatically NS-18 or whatever they're called.
Yeah. Like in Attack on Titan, they'll say like, you shitheads, but they won't say fuck. It's really weird.
Which, I mean, like, when you actually get to Japanese, that's what I love about that, is that, like, they don't really have a lot of variance in their curse words. It usually kind of goes down the kuso, which means, like, I'll kill you. Or like, a kind of a... There's... That's not... No, kuso is not kill. I think kuso is just, like, shit. It's like either shit or fuck. It's, like, their equivalent of that, but it's just sort of, like, multi-purpose. Kuso!
Let's keep going.
Yeah. Peggy 18, yes. No. So, for fuck's sake, what will it take to kill you ingrates? She shouted angrily. Just shouted. You don't need to add angrily. We already know. We can tell that she's angry. While her arm reformed. Funny, I was going to say the same thing about you. Now get away from my son, you bitch. All right, that's a little more appropriate for Ruby. Summer roared with maternal
Hold
rage.
on. I'm fixing these commas. I was going to say, funny comma, I was going to say the same about you. Now, comma, optional comma. Get away from my son, comma, you bitch.
Yes.
Summer roared with maternal rage. You don't have to... If Summer is roaring, you don't...
Summer gave a maternal roar. I don't know. I kind of like the maternal rage.
Maternal rage.
I mean, it's one of those lines where it's like, I think it's Koroso maybe is the kill. I'm trying. Sorry, Moopa is correcting me.
Moopa says Shine is a die.
Oh yeah, Shine. That's it. I don't know why I was getting those two confused. I shouldn't be. God, I need to practice my Japanese. Something serious. I have been rusty all week. She then rushes at Salem, even with her enhanced regeneration. Summer keeps slashing Salem. That's a shift in tense. You've been very much past tense or present perfect tense up until this point, and now you're going present tense, and that's suddenly very... It can be done where you shift tense mid-sentence or not mid-sentence, mid-paragraph or mid-section, but it's very jarring when you do so. It needs to be used very tactically, and it's not really being used tactically here. Summer is a barbarian, confirmed. You see, Josh, I don't know what Summer would say because we've never Oh, Salem. Oh, I thought you said Summer. Okay. Summer's that's right. Right next to it. Kuso is I believe means killer. Kuroso. Yeah, I think that might be what I'm thinking of. Sorry, random Japanese facts. She then rushes at Salem. She rushed at Salem. Even with her enhanced regeneration, Summer keeps slashing at Salem.
Kept slashing. It's also misspelled.
And then
it says Shulshing.
Shulshing.
And even with her enhanced regeneration, Summer kept slashing. You don't have to say at Salem. We know she's already attacking Salem.
Ty, get Duron out of here. I'm sorry. Every single time I see this guy's name, all I can think of is durian. Like, I just think of a very pungent fruit from, like, Australia.
I think of Daron, which is a real name, but it's not spelled like that.
Broke is slang for dumbass. Bokeh. Well, there's baka. I don't know what bokeh is. Like, bokeh might be slang for dumbass. Ty, get durian out of here. I'm not leaving you alone, Ty. Replies.
I like how you just said durian.
Yeah. I'm calling him. I'm sorry, anime. I'm calling him durian from here on in. I'm leaving you alone, Ty replies. He punched Salem from the top of the head, making her sink into the earth beneath her feet. Enough! Salem shouted. She then pulled herself out of the dirt and used her magic to throw Ty and Summer into the opposite collapsed walls. Walking quickly towards Summer, she elongated her nails, her rage set in her scowl. Then a ping went off like a nail hitting a bell.
Anime K says it's a Hebrew word for courageous. Yeah, I've heard Daron. Daron is an Israeli name.
Shout out to Duran. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't doubt it has an actual serious meaning before it. I'm just like there are situations where readers are just going to do that.
Yeah, but it means the way I think it's spelled, it means gift, not courageous. So it's like a little fun fact. I used to play in a band with a kid named Daron. That's why I know that.
I'm not sure how much we're going to get out of this.
Yeah.
Kind of been lingering on it for like half an hour. Admittedly, that was like a 10-minute rant, but
also, this is a small thing. But making OCs that have direct connection to pre-existing characters is
it's a big cringe.
Yeah. Thank you for saying what I was a little like too nice to say.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say this because here I've been in your boat, man. I've been in your boat. Making characters that are directly connected like this reeks of the same thing that we mock a lot of a lot of self-insert type situations. The reader / harem type deal. The abused and neglected male reader stuff.
Bad fanfiction. Neglected male reader.
You should join more of our bad fanfiction nights. They are wonderfully and anime AK now that because I know you're in the server now. Thank you for patroning me. I really appreciate it, man. You should join bad fanfiction night. Because we go through, and I might do this just to help you this Friday. We'll do a abused and neglected male reader self-insert type deal. And we'll show you kind of how bad it is to really connect characters that way. The closest I've gotten in a more serious work, like Ruby Subversion, which was my take on a sequel to Ruby back in the day, where it was a huge submit your own character thing. I had an OC character that was connected to Team Ruby because they were he and his group of friends were Ruby's old group of friends from Patch, which were mentioned in the original volume, but in the original first volume, but were never brought up ever again. So I was taking pre-established lore that had never been elaborated on and kind of fitting my characters in there and trying to carve a new kind of spin from it. So there's also having tragic backstories and the like. It's really kind of nebulous, but adding family members is sort of like a big red flag for insert OCs. What time on Friday? Like, do you work at like midnight? You work at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
Steve Marathon speaks Hebrew fluently. DM me. I need to brush up on mine.
Not bad connection.
I haven't regularly spoken Hebrew in 5 years. Jeez, 4 years.
Yeah, but yeah. So like, this is. It's not terrible, but it's not enjoyable. because you're kind of like presuming that we're attached to this character like you are. We're not. We're not attached to this character. You're just kind of throwing him in there and saying, "Oh, he's related to Ty and Summer." And it's like, why do we care?
You have to keep like. You have to keep in mind, it's like world building. You can have all this stuff, but you need to have a reason for us to care about this stuff. If you like... I'm trying to think of a metaphor, because I like metaphors. Steve Marathon says betach. But, I think that's how you say that. But...
Right, well...
What I'm trying to say is... Hold on, I'm trying to think of a metaphor. Like... It's like if you showed me a really interesting house that had nothing inside. I don't really care about it until it's furnished. You have to give me a reason to want to live there.
Right, I can kind of tie this a little bit. Every story is in some way related to a house. You got... you have entire neighborhoods which are long-spanning novel series. You have entire novels which are a whole house. You've got novellas which are sort of like a sectioned house tour. You've got short stories which are a single room, and you've got flash fiction which are looking through a keyhole in the house. And inside those rooms are all the different pieces of furniture, which are the arrangement of the story, the different characters. You're trying to be like, isn't this lamp awesome? And I'm sitting here asking, yes, but does it work? Does the lamp turn on? And you're not answering that question. It's sort of like, that's what I'm feeling.
There's sometimes a disconnect. Some people, and I'm not saying this about Anime AK. There are some people who kind of... It's not that they lack self-awareness, it's they lack the ability to understand that other people will see them differently than they see themselves.
All right, here's because the anime guy, he actually said what he was intending with this. He wanted it to be a memory this guy is reliving for the purposes of the trope he selected, which is Survivor's Guild. All right.
But you're not deconstructing a trope. You just did straight Survivor's Guild flashback.
He didn't realize the prompt was to deconstruct the trope.
Ah.
Yeah, so I recognize. If you wanted to do that trope, I would have recommended a different approach. Like, the way I would have handled something like this is have the person in the present reflecting back on it. You don't have the memory. And this is where you kind of run into an issue with how you format things. You always like to have your like time, place, date type deal going on. Don't do that. That severely limits you. Like it can be used well, but it's very, very... It limits you as an author to learn when you should be variable with your time. How I would have done this is have this guy like going through a market at some point, buying fruit, and literally just because of something that happens, maybe not even because of anything, maybe just because like it's trauma and it just comes up randomly. He's seeing things that happened back during this event, and they're sort of overlapping with his current reality, and he's suffering from that. That is a much more nuanced and clearer way of getting the survivor's guilt type thing across. And it completely precludes you having this designation of like when things are happening, because for him, you have two time periods existing simultaneously.
Also, I think that I haven't used this term in a while, but Anime AK comes off to me as a very systemized type of writer, and I can tell because everything has to be separated and neatly sorted, and we need to know the time and place. But at the same time, he lacks the empathized writing that will help us actually, like we said, connect to all this. Because the details don't mean anything to us. Like I said, this idea that some people can't understand that the world they see themselves differently than the world sees them. You see this character as someone really important and interesting, but we don't, because we're not you. We can't get inside your brain. It's up to you to let us in.
Yeah. So yeah, this is again. Yeah, but I guess I failed again. That's fine. It's okay. Failing is okay. And this is this thing again. Don't be afraid to fail. You fail so that you can get back up on the horse and walk again.
Yeah, you don't need to, you know, flog yourself in chat about how you failed. It's really okay.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. And you know what? I look forward to seeing you improve in the future, man. Because I know you can do it. I've already seen evidence of it. You'll get there. You'll get there. It'll take some time, but you'll get there. All right, just keep at it. Okay, so this next one I believe is Moopo,
Okay, let me get this up.
and one E2R3, so PTSD trigger. Um, sort of like it's always I'm not a super big fan of PTSD is really weird because you either have to like convey it in a way that's supernatural or in a way that's really random, because as I've learned, PTSD doesn't have to do with direct stimuli. Like for example, I always criticized Volume 4 version of Yang for getting a weird flashback while getting a glass of water, but then I heard from an actual someone who's gone through PTSD or still has it, that yeah, it's random stimuli sometimes just brings you back to that moment, and you can never really predict when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I read something about this once where somebody stopped at a gas station, bought some Skittles, and then continued driving and got into a really scary accident where their car flipped over like 3 times. And thankfully they somehow were unharmed, but they continued driving and that was totally okay. And then they went into a gas station and they saw Skittles on the shelf, and then they had a panic attack.
Other note included because that was part of your guys' instructions last time when the prompt was here. Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Molly,
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Author's note. Sorry, but it was too annoying to try and pick a trope to deconstruct, so I just didn't. I was more interested in exercising my ability to write with voice, so below is a story told entirely through a string of one-sided dialogue. Enjoy. Sure we will. Which I guess is kind of deconstructing tropes in a way. You summoned me, director? Yes, I heard. A tragedy, to be sure, though I can't say I'm surprised. She was acting rather queer towards the end, raving about nightmares and visions and such nonsense. If she just listened to my advice, she'd be here today. What a lot of waste and effort we have to go through now because of her foolishness. Oh please, that boy's so wrapped up in grief he can barely function. It was very wise of you to give him leave so he doesn't clutter our offices. Oh no, don't get me wrong, he's usually a fine agent with many accomplishments under his belt. But for him to break down so easily like that, well, perhaps his mettle isn't what I thought it was. Yes, of course. I know you wouldn't detain me without good reason. Of course, I'm honored you would bestow me with such a vital mission. With my exceptional abilities as a wick, I won't let you down. Partner? Ah, yes, of course. No, I'm afraid I haven't the pleasure. Indeed. Director, indulge me. He's rather young to be sent on this mission now. I'm afraid I don't care for such jokes. I'll have you know that my age has only increased my wisdom rather than lessening my strength. What other matter? Are you certain that's wise? Well, it's just, how shall I put it? She's so new. She shouldn't be sent on some test missions before accompanying us on something like this. She'll have to ask as a bodyguard during retrieval is... No, of course I can handle it. It's just... Very well. I admit I see the sense in your strategy now. We'll take good care of her, for as long as necessary. Again, I am ever so gracious to be given this assignment, Director. I shall meet with my partner today. With my partner now. Good day, ma'am.
Well, interesting. Gives us an interesting this is mean like I don't know how this makes you feel. It's an interesting little experiment. What do you think?
Hold on. I'm reading through it again, trying to understand.
course, I'm afraid I haven't the pleasure indeed. Director told me he has rather young to be sent on missions such as this. No, I'm afraid I don't care for such jokes. You know the age has only increased me. That anime guy, while she's digesting this, first rule of human emotions: do not presume you understand human emotions. Human emotions are incredibly volatile.
It's like those people who call themselves empaths. No, if you're going around calling people, if you're going around telling people you have a high EQ, you don't have a high EQ. Yeah, so I'm adjusting this. I'm not sure. I don't. I feel like a little stupid. I'm not sure I get it.
I think I do. It's just like a woman who's assigning a partner to this guy. I think that's what I get from this. It's an interesting experiment, Moopo, but I'm not sure if we're getting the information that you want us to. It's in your thumbnails as overly sarcastic productions videos. Is that a problem? I have no qualms with this. Go ahead. Consistent character more so than the story system. Okay, so it's more about the I got that. I got the consistency of the character. Like this, I pictured this woman in my head. I see a smooth, well steamed pencil skirt, jacket, blazer, nice, always buttoned even when sitting, glasses, some kind of like bun tied up in her hair, and a little bit of gray in her hair. I could get that image of this woman. Well, if I do have a high IQ, is it EQ is a pseudoscience created by a journalist who wants to bash IQ. But what if I do have a high IQ? Well, then you have a low EQ. Actually, my EQ is assuredly greater than yours. My doctor has told me I even have an 8. Try and beat that. Okay.
EQ is pseudoscience created by a journalist who wanted to bash IQ. You get what I'm saying, though. If you're going around bragging to people that you're super empathetic, you probably aren't. Because if you were empathetic, you'd know that people don't like it when you brag to them about how empathetic you are.
Okay, here we go. This is Poncho's piece. All right. Mid-October, with leaves spilled like color pencil and shavings, the street dicing our town into neat, unfair portions. My musings on the old poem were cut short on the grating sound of a lawnmower from the house to my left. I looked over to the endless rows of trees manning the far wall. In the trenches below, an armada of shrubbery was feeding off. Fending off the yellow drain of season. Oh, in the trenches below.
Yeah, he's saying that there's still some green left. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the trenches below. I think it'd be comma. An armada of shrubbery was fending off the yellow drain of the season, with the cavalry of flowers desperately holding the line to keep what colors they could. Amidst them all, their commander leading the charge on her mighty steed, led the charge. I think it'd be led the charge on her mighty steed, eradicating any and all invaders of her territory. Jacqueline, the perfect girl. She's smart and funny. She's great at gardening, greenest thumb in the neighborhood. She knows a lot about cars and always seems happy to help fix my old rust bucket. And he really helped out during the divorce. I mean, he's always been there for me. Wait, no, I mean, I think, is that supposed to be she? Not an old man, not an old lady?
Just keep reading it.
Okay. Wait, no, I mean, she has serious honkers. A real set of donkers.
Let me do this. She has serious honkers, a real set of badonkers, bona fide badonker honkeroos, massive Don Hunkabakaloos, big old Daban honkeros, packing some Speedy Gonzales, absolute units of who's its and what's it, 2 metric ton ton hongerer cougars, giant banka honga hugas, humongous hongo longo nongo luga hose.
Boobs. Yes, I like those. So I like her. We've both grown up in the suburbs. This is all we've really known. Same old houses, same old school, same old bus ride, same old friends, but I've realized I want things to change. The only thing in my way is his damned boyfriend. Rochelle, Richard, blonde, blue eyes, petite, absolutely gigantic, just huge. Not that I'm scared of her. No, absolutely not. It's not like she looks like that lizard thing we found in Jacqueline's backyard one time. It bit me. Wound got infected. Was in bed for a month. Sick as a dog. Upside. Jack fed me soup every day. Harmless she is. I'm not afraid of him. Could beat him with my eyes closed. I could totally beat her with my Great Alberta Yosekian
techniques. Patent pending.
What the hell was that supposed to be? I know something's up. I can see it in his eyes during the neighborhood barbecues. Every time I look at him, Jacqueline just looks so sad, even when he's smiling and tells me he's okay. And he's got bruises he always explains away, and he gets mad whenever I push him on it. The good Christian girl never complains. Today, things will change today. I marched over to the low wall dividing our houses, with an unshakable resolve to get Jacqueline to finally spill the beans. I prep my finger against the standard wagging motion, to establish maximum dominance, and yelled to make myself heard over the whirring lawnmower. Jack! Mackie! Hi! Shouted Jacqueline, finally letting the poor machine rest and hurriedly making her way over to him. What's up? What's going on, Jacqueline? I've been asking for weeks, and... Play with her hair, blinking, lip biting no. I stopped dead in my tracks. She was different today. He kept touching his hair as if it needed fixing, and he was blinking a lot. This is what guys are supposed to be into? He had cocked his head to the side, and his warm chocolate brown eyes had a very new energy in them. You okay? You see another? He paused for effect and dramatically looked around. Lizard man? His face cracked into an eerie grin. It was just a normal lizard, and no, look, I'm trying to ask you something important. Why don't you come inside? Heh, ha! You can ask whatever you want, he interrupted, leaning in close to my face, uncomfortably close. Sure, I said, firmly pushing him away. I didn't blush. Shut up. I walked over to his driveway, and as I approached, he was already standing by the doorway holding it open. The soft fragrance of the garden sucked itself to me. Most days it was rejuvenating. Today it was suffocating, as though it was pulling me back by the throat. Jacqueline stood there, smiling. As I walked into the threshold, I noticed the door on my right that wasn't there any of the many times I passed through here. You lack the basement, he said, opening the door. There was nothing there, just void. I moved closer. My eyes couldn't comprehend what I was looking at. Since when do you have a basement? And he pushed me through. There was nothing. No steps, no pain, just void. Falling, falling, falling. Nothing could hurt me. Nothing could bring me pain. Nothing could hurt anyone. All you have to do is let it. The void is wonderful. The void was looking at him. The void welcomed his new arrival. The void remained still, unblinking. The void is watching, 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 the void is watching. Dude, are you okay? The scene dissolved before his eyes, and his neighbor Jack was now standing in front of him, his warm chocolate brown eyes furrowed in suspicion with an open notebook held in his hands. Silence. Michael? Yeah, man, why wouldn't I be? Came the sudden reply. Michael's voice noticeably a few octaves higher than his normal pitch. Uh-huh, said Jack, snapping his notebook shut. Well, the assignment was to write about a woman you like. And I did, squeaked Michael. Uh-huh, said Jack again, holding his notebook in front of himself to hand it back. Evidently, creative writing therapy isn't for you. Michael sheepishly looked back at his notebook, his eyes periodically darting from the pavement to the odd car passing by. Jack simply looked Michael up and down, a pensive expression on his face. He sighed and simply said, I'll see you at church, Michael. As he turned around with a flourish, he briskly walked out of the driveway to his house next door, much faster than one would think he would need to, while the last flower of spring waved its final goodbye. Note, this is supposed to be a girl next door trope. The poem at its start is Bo Burnham's thought it fit. Also, this information is more context still needed. Tried to experiment with first person perspective, kind of iffy on it.
That was actually really cool.
This new anime plot.
What was that, Molly?
I think it's really cool.
I barely have any idea what the fuck is going on in here, but yeah.
No, I get what's happening. Like, because the whole point, it's supposed to be like he's writing. It's the payoff at the end. It's like a punchline. He's writing, like, this is his creative writing, and he's supposed to be writing. This is how I interpret it anyway. He's supposed to be writing about a woman, but he's actually has a crush on this friend Jack.
Oh, okay.
And then he just kind of starts doing the stuff that every person does with creative writing, where you just start, ooh, look, I could change the formatting.
And then there's the okay, so that's what the big honkers was all about. It was just him basically in denial.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that's
I like
actually
that.
that's a cool subversion, because I love how you set it up, how there's that initial confusion, and then at the end you're like, oh, I get it now.
Oh man. Okay, well, that was
right on the money. Yes, I'm smart.
Bro, the video link is so good. It's the memes they were referencing. Yeah, I know what that link is. I watched it.
Not only is it a really cool setup and payoff, it also is just well written. So really good job, Poncho.
Yeah, I very rarely see the strike through used effectively in writing, but like that was an excellent use of strike through. I was confused, but that's because I'm an idiot. But like now that Molly explained it, like, oh, it all makes sense. Today I just learned that Blue Mika Wazowski is real and canon to the Monsters Inc. universe. Blue Mike
Wazowski.
Blue Mike Wazowski. What?
Blue Mike Wazowski.
I mean, is it actually still Mike Wazowski, or is it maybe like a different monster that just looks like him but is blue? I need answers. I don't need sleep. I need answers. Just like you need to read this next piece by William Wimser.
Ah. Oh yeah, it is my turn. It's Whismer, not Wimser.
God damn it!
Whismer like the Pokemon. Whismer like the Pokemon.
I'm just... I hated Whispers so much.
You hate Whismer?
Because of that one cave that you always get stopped by Whismers and Loudrids in. Like, I just remember I got, like, my shit kicked in there a lot for whatever reason.
I like Whismer because that's the Pokemon that Zinnia projects all her feelings onto. It's great. It has no idea what's happening.
Try to throw in some Lovecraft. The Lovecraft I definitely got. That was kind of wacky at the middle there.
Yeah. All right. The blood of the dragon will save us all. So said the voice of the prophet. A simple warning of great devastation to be visited upon the world. To be stopped only by they who bore the blood of the great dragon reborn. So it was said. So it would be. Heading the Council of Fate itself, the king turned his best and wisest to search for this reincarnation. From highest royalty to lowest peasant, every newborn was sought and assessed for signs of reincarnation. No child could be excluded, not when the fate of the world hung in the balance. In time, through pretender and false savior, the dragon was at last found. A boy of meager birth raised 6 years on a farm, far from the halls of power and prophecy. Unexpected, to say the least. Many doubting such a creature would ever be the return of the one so mighty as the maker of this world. Still, but the signs were clear beyond doubt, the boy was brought to the king's court. There he was told of his lineage, of the great calamity looming in the kingdom's future, and of his destiny to stand defiant against it. Dire words for a mind so young, but the king would not waste the time they had been given. The great calamity was coming, looming ever nearer with the cold certainty of death itself. They would need every second of it to prepare, to forge the boy that stood before them into the dragon that would save them all. Raised in the halls of power, the boy was trained in every skill that could be of use, martial skill in every weapon imaginable, from shatteringly brutal to viciously subtle. Harsh lessons in the art of leading men into battle, from a motley gang of thugs to the grandest of armies ever known. Politics, trade, rhetoric, mathematics, and natural philosophy, ensuring that the dragon's mind was every bit as sharp as his body. This is me reclassing my Fire Emblem units. Some even whispered that he was inducted into the arts both old and dark, harnessing powers beyond the ken of lesser men. Above all, he was taught to love the people of the kingdom and of all the world beyond. Though he could never know them all, his heart was filled with deep affection for each and every one. The dragon would protect them, to do whatever was needed to shield them against the coming darkness. To his last breath, to his very last drop of blood, he would stand and fight. This he made his solemn vow. So had it been said, and so it would be. And so he stood vigilant as the long years passed on by, each one bringing only another of itself. No calamity arrived, no great darkness revealed itself to threaten the land. Life simply moved on as it always had, quiet, peaceful, normal. And with the passing of each one, a deep disquiet gripped even tighter upon the dragon. Where was the enemy? Why had it not shown itself? What was it waiting for? Or was it waiting? Had it perhaps already begun its moves against the world, choosing the quiet path of subversion to corrupt and destroy from within? The thought terrified the dragon. The world could already be on the brink of devastation, and here he sat, doing nothing to stop it. This he cannot allow. Thus did the dragon march out into the world. To its furthest corners he traveled, seeking out the darkness at every turn. Mercilessly he rooted it out, by word and by blade, by fire and fury, no matter what form it took, no matter which hole in which it chose to hide. A little bit of repetition there. You could get rid of one of the witch, but yeah. The dragon would find and destroy them all. So it was said, so it would be. But still the greater whole would not show itself. No matter how far he ranged, how deep he dug, the enemies remained elusive. Always another thread to follow, another rumor to chase, its roots running far and deep within the most unlikely of places. Even the most innocent of appearances could hide the rot. All were purged before they could grow and speak, a task of great sacrifice and suffering that weighed heavily on the dragon's heart. Such was his love for the world. For the greater good he did these things. Better the torch than to be turned against him in the great calamity to come. None can say for sure what finally turned the people against their anointed savior. There were so many things to choose from, so many homes burned, so many loved ones taken, broken, destroyed. Assurances of necessity could only carry so much weight, and in the end the feeble words snapped like a twig in a hurricane. At last, the dragon had his great calamity. The very people destiny had decreed he save. Eagerly he threw himself into the task, conducting his armies to stand against the world, in glorious defense of the world. Great was his rage when they refused. Greater was his fear when they turned their might back against him. He had stood no chance from the beginning. The few who remained by his side could do nothing in the face of what stood united against him. One by one his loyalists fell, his great army shattered, his titles cast down, his words ignored, and his body broken beyond any healing. All that remained to him, as the 1,000 blades struck him down, was the simple destiny from so long ago. The blood of the dragon will save us all. So had it been said, so had it been.
Damn.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm always a sucker for the good intentions spiraling into horrible immorality.
Isn't this the plot of Pokemon X and Y?
I think?
Isn't that Lysander's deal? I don't know. Like, not to this extent.
No. Lysander is like, I want to make the world beautiful because I'm fabulous. And that's basically
No, but I forget if it was the games or the manga that said this, but wasn't there a thing about how he was, like, a philanthropist who wanted to... I think it was the manga, but, like, he was originally a philanthropist that wanted to make the world better, and then he realized there was so much corruption and terrible things that he said, like, okay, I'm going to choose these people to survive, and I'm going to purge everyone else.
Something like that, I guess?
Am I making that up?
No, I think that sounds familiar. I just don't know how much detail they went into in the original game. Wonder what the trope was. I think the trope was like the destined savior. or self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe. That's not me trying to be funny. There's a little blue clone of Mike Wazowski. It looks like him. It was made in DeviantArt. Man, well, I like to do, but good, except not all. But technically, yes. I can honestly say that that was a coincidence. If so, haven't played any Pokemon since Silver.
I know it was a coincidence. I just wanted to make a little like
Silver
this is very good. This is very good, William.
Damn, very polite. Oh, no,
Poetic.
The thing is, my second monitor is a TV. It's actually a TV. It's not a monitor, so it's actually slightly grainier. Like the visual is a little blurrier than everything else. So I look at that, I'm like, oh, is that an L or a T? Okay. Let's see. Window capture, properties. Make sure I get this.
This was the basis of why AZ made the Doomsday weapon. See? Knew it.
There we go. A little bit better.
I like how the XY games are like nonsense. Then the manga is like insane.
So this is from Pasteben. And we got new. Did Namyoms actually send us something?
He said he did.
Wait, where do I look for
that? Check your Twitter, just in case.
Yeah, it's in message requests. God damn it. Go, just making sure we have that. Okay, Pastebed. Fireside prompt Trope. Listen, you stuck-up bitch. Classical projection, bitch. It was the same word, but with the venom to kill a grown man. And before you call me racist, you might want to consider how much you actually know about this. You don't know anything, you spoiled brat. Blake's ears were flat and her lips curled in a snarl. I'm intimately familiar with all 7 iterations of the post-war White Fang and their associated iconography. I'm well studied on them because each has attempted to end the lives of my family. Weiss had perched on the desk to better look down on Blake. Stop using extremists to smear the movement. Oh, so they've officially denounced all acts of assassination and are currently working to quash splinter groups. Hey, you change the subject. The White Fang doesn't represent the Faunus as people. It's just one political faction. More like 100 political factions, but I guess you are technically correct. Weiss taken to idly preening, adjusting her hair or filing her nails. Blake knew it was just another way to piss her off and tried to keep cool. Why is it that under half of the Faunus unlock their aura, less if you count only purebred Faunus, and even fewer of them find their semblance? How is that even relevant? It's an observable statistical anomaly. Along with entrepreneurial pursuits and innovation, these are categories in which humans significantly outpace Faunus. All the major ports on Menagerie were built and run by humans until the White Fang pushed them out and took over. Even the telecommunication system that the Faunus use were invented by humans. We just do everything better. Speaking of which, do you know who killed the first 3 supreme leaders of the pre-war United Faunus faction? Weiss was back on her feet, and stalked back and forth before Blake, her lecture dripping with condescension. And now the supremacist reveals herself. You think you're so above animals that you can turn their barbaric murder into a point-scoring system. Looks like you're not much better than the assassins you were dressing down before. Blake allowed her snarl to become a smirk. Oh goodness, that would be true if I hadn't been a trick question. The first 3 leaders were killed by internal factions vying for power, and not in any ceremonial, honorable fashion either. One was betrayed on the battlefield, and 2 had their throats cut in the night. The Faunus aren't a people; they're a loose conglomeration of convenience. Do you know what my father taught me? Weiss was already prepping her retort as she strung Blake along. Like a pet, she thought. How apropos. Apropos, that's what it is.
Yeah, how apropos.
I've never seen that really written out. How to whip a Faunus slave without leaving marks? Blake felt good about her comeback, but the placid look Weiss returned, tinged with disappointment, told her that the heiress had trapped her again. Weiss opened with a sigh. We don't have slaves, and if it weren't for the military's strict regulation and control of automated technology, we'd probably have robots working the mines. Have you ever toured a dust mine? Don't bother. This conversation tells me you never ventured outside of the safe bubble created by you for you by White Fang propaganda. Weiss approached Blake, invading her space and pushing her back. Mine accidents are big news because they're rare. Weiss punctuated this statement by thrusting her finger into Blake's shoulder, and Blake retreated. While a disproportionate number of faunists work in the mines, Weiss advanced on Blake, leading with her shoulder. Their natural thrust advance, bestial thrust advance, strength and endurance means that a majority of casualties are human. Strike. Blake was at a loss, shouting the first thing that came to her mind. Liar, you're rich enough to paper over any problem with money. Still well within Blake's personal space, Weiss whispered just loud enough for Blake to hear. Checkmate. Weiss rolled with a balance of grace and flourish and began an even pace away from Blake. Why bother? She turned her piercing gaze over her shoulder to Blake. After all, nobody cares about the faunus, isn't that right? Faunus sympathy is at an all-time low due to the White Fang terrorism and ham-fisted integration projects. We could throw faunus from a floating city for sport, and it wouldn't even be a footnote in the news. So why would we waste resources hiding deaths for the practice of slavery? Everybody needs dust. It's the lifeblood of the economy. We could serve faunus for dinner and never lose a cent, so what do I have to gain by lying? Blake scowled at the images Weiss conjured. Before she could collect her thoughts, Weiss ended the tangent and returned to her previous tack. She dispensed with sachets and swagger, her posture neutral and her face authoritative but not haughty. But enough of the rhetoric. Let me share with you a lesson both our fathers know, but yours didn't have the fortitude to teach you. When a weak board of directors unite to oust the CEO, the inevitable result is a power vacuum and a war between conniving vultures. It's always a bloodbath. So what happens when your bogeyman is gone? What will become of the White Fang once the faunus liberation is achieved? It'll be every species for itself, just like it always is with you, with your kind. Humans might squabble, but at least in the long view, we demonstrate progress and control of our future. All the faunus have to show for their time on this planet is sloth and strife. With that, Weiss turned to leave. She was happy to finally vent her rage on a receptive subject instead of just fuming impotently at the smears that came from inanimate speakers or soulless screens. With the return of her calm poise, she decided to end on a positive note and flippantly shouted over her shoulder, "Maybe you can step up to be the leader they need. All you'd have to do is end centuries of cultural conflict and imbue a generation of victims with work ethic."
I wish we got this Weiss so badly.
Yeah.
If only you knew how things could be.
And then she started talking, and then she started talking about CEOs and infighting and cultural legacies, and I was totally lost, and I looked like a fool. Blake finally stopped to breathe and found herself panting. She turned to Yang for support. Yang awkwardly returned her gaze with a pink bubble expanded slowly from her lips. The only sound in the room were Blake desperately breathing in and Yang inexorably breathing out. It seemed like the bubble grew forever until it finally snapped, shattering the silence and causing Blake to reflexively lower her ears. My dad taught me that that politics is for people too weak or too lazy to get stuff done themselves, so I didn't really get any of what you were talking about. But you look like you need a break. Do you want to go out? I know a place where the music's not too loud and the temp's not too hot and all the drinks aren't too expensive. Everything's just right. Thanks, Yang. That is a cute little reference to Goldilocks there.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I caught them. Like, everything's just right. Wait a minute, that sounds familiar. This is for the end because I felt like unbiased reading is best. The trope I absolutely hate is the most is when the work has been narrative about racism, but it's totally binary. Nobody gets to have a back and forth. Nobody examines why races, realistically as ethnicities, come into conflict. There's little to no examination of cultural differences, which may lead to friction. Bonus points for treating whatever other group is in the stand-in du jour for racism as a united monolith. It's just this juvenile, reductive assumption that people are all the exact same with a different coat of paint on the outside. I think that's one of the most frustrating things for me when I watch RWBY, because the faunus could not be any more explicitly genetically divergent from humans. They have obvious animal characteristics. What a perfect opportunity to explore differences. And then they were just humans with funny ears. If you feel like that my work is one-sided, that is intentional with the understanding that most of the audience will already know the other side's view from the show. And remember, World of Remnant is not canon. Bonus round. Can Raymond find all the subtext in Weiss's behavior? There's 3 important aspects. The subtext in Weiss's behavior? Oh, 1 minute. I'm going to send this off to JJ because he's helping me work on notes for Volume 7 Jacques, and that's incredible.
It's so good.
That was insane, the level of thought you put into that. I love it.
You have done more to explore the faunus in like 1,000 words than RWBY has in 8 seasons.
It's incredible.
I'm sending this to my friends too.
Loving, intelligent, racist Weiss. It's like, okay, so here's an interesting posed question that like kind of is raised by this. At what point does it start being racism? At what point does it stop being logic?
Yeah.
Like, and that's actually what I love about this. It's like I'm not necessarily against Weiss here. She's being unduly harsh against fellow human beings, so to speak. But like, she's not like from what we understand here, she's not wrong. She has all these facts and info that she's throwing at you, and they're very compelling pieces of information. So that all of it kind of is colored in a biased lens, but not necessarily an incorrect one. It's really, damn. God damn, that was well written, man.
Oh, that was so good.
Paste Ben, how did you do that, man?
Every now and then we get something on this stream that's just...
RWBY doesn't have characters in 15,000 words. Jesus Christ, yeah, that's pretty brutal.
I'm curious. I want to get, just as a comparison, how many words does, like, a Fire Emblem character get in their supports? Feels like a really, like, how many, like, how many, and that's counting other people talking. I'm curious how many lines, like, somebody like Felix gets in all their supports. And this is very unscientific, but I'm just gonna do some copy paste real quick.
But yeah, that was I do like how you made it like, okay, these ethnicities are not the same peoples, like, you know, equivalizing to our world, which is very dangerous for anything. But not all black people are the same black. Like, you have ethnicities from all around Africa, and of course there is also, I think, there is to some degree a fair argument of like the genetic mixing that happened because they were torn from their homes and we don't have record of who came from where. Although with genetic testing, I think we're getting to the point that we can actually identify which regions of Africa people are actually from. So,
well, I mean, it's a bit different because if you're talking about African Americans, like, that is basically its own ethnicity right now because, again, like you said, there is all the mixing that happened, and they do behave as not a cultural monolith, because you can't say it like that, but there is, like, a common ground. But it's different. There's a difference between the descendants of the people who were brought here as slaves from West Africa and, say, like, you know, the children of Ethiopian immigrants and the person whose grandparents were from Jamaica. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. That there's a big difference. They all are black, and they're in America, but there's a difference between all of them.
So where can we read these stories? I mostly post them here. I don't feel comfortable posting public Google Drive links and the like. Pastebin, I don't know how that works. I think it's safe to probably post this into chat. But like if it's a Google Drive link, I'm definitely not going to share it because, like, you know, that's. But I was going to say with that, there's a commentator that was actually commenting on there was this whole hullabaloo over like using white people using African American reaction gifs. Have you heard any of that controversy? Like, oh, you're stealing black culture, and it's like, no, we're appreciating it because white culture, almost all of it, in some invariably over all Europe, at one point went through a huge prudish phase where like we very much tempered our reactions and experiences with things. Meanwhile, like African culture never had that tempering. So when like African Americans or Africans in general react to things, they're incredibly expressive. They have these really strong expressive facial features and reactions to things that are just a joy to watch. Like, I don't know how to
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like, someone pointed out, and I'm like, oh, that really does click that, like, as a culture, white people are, like prudishly stunted by our culture. You know, we don't have, like, the over-the-top reactions that we, like, and when we do, it feels kind of forced and kind of, like the, oh, what is it? It's from that movie, but the two guys that are sitting in chairs, and then, damn! That reaction? What, you know the gif, or the image. Like, that, no white person could pull that off. And we're sitting here and like we're not stealing that because we want to steal it. We're taking that because we can't eloquate our internal emotions physically in that way. Like those guys.
I don't know how true that is, but I do understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah. It's just like we're appreciating that they can do what most of us can't. Oh my god, the digital blackface thing. I'm still halfway sure that it was just like a joke. See, that's the problem is it starts out a joke. Oh, your dad traced your ancestry back to the specific tribe in Africa he came from. That's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah.
See, I think that would be kind of cool. Like we can trace my lineage back pretty far, but like, you know, we don't have like specific tribes. Which kind of sucks. Like we don't. I don't know what kind of Irish tribe. Like I don't know if we can.
So
go back
you
to
get you had clans in Ireland.
Yeah, Irish clans. Like I would discuss it, but like that would reveal like my last name, and I don't want to actually reveal my real last name. So the descriptors of Weiss at first seem all connected with animals. Then a regressive turn parallel fencing. The entire thing is a chess game. Yeah, I the animals thing I could pick up on. The parry riposte thing, I think that was. I didn't know what you were referring to. Like there were nice little like uses of how she colors her speech and how her description. That was all beautifully well done to kind of give her this very aristocratic vibe the entire way through, and like that racist tinting with the animals thing. I think that was probably where it went from logic to racist in that. That's probably the line you could draw, is like she doesn't view them as people, she views them as animals.
I think European tradition tends to be more focused on dry wit and playing the straight man.
Yes, it's much more stoic leaning.
If you even if you're reading like Shakespeare, you find a lot of like really deadpan humor.
Oh yeah. Shakespeare is filled with that stuff, although people always overlook that Shakespeare is also filled with some of the raunchiest humor of his time. Like
there's a great British folk song, I forget what it's called, but it's about a woman goes up to a soldier and asks to marry him, and the soldier goes like, oh, but how can I marry you when I don't have a fancy hat? So she goes and buys him a fancy hat, and then he goes, how can I marry you if I don't have nice shoes? And she goes and buys him the nicest shoes she can find. Oh, but how can I marry you if I don't have like a nice coat? So she goes to a tailor and gets the nicest coat, and then he has all these things, and he goes, how can I marry you when I have a wife and 3 kids back home?
Yeah. Oh. The best part is I didn't plan for those. I just noticed noticed hooks for them afterwards and went back and enhanced it. Yeah,
that's great.
That is wonderful when like the character kind of speaks for themselves. It really baffles me. It's like Ruby has characters. They started with characters, and then somehow they've arrived at a point where they don't really have characters anymore.
By the way, so I copy and pasted all the text. So one character in Three Houses has 13,000 lines of supports, but that like words of supports, but that doesn't mean, you could assume you could cut that in half to about 6,500, which means that you have a character who has less than half the dialogue Ruby has, and 8 billion times you know the character. If you want to go even deeper into that, the three protagonists of Final Fantasy VI are considered some of the best written in the franchise, and at most, they have, I think of the three of them, the most has 200 lines of dialogue. 200. That's it. And Ruby's out here with 15,000 words of dialogue, and she's still nothing. It's incredible.
The Shakespeare's responsible for the first Yo-Mama joke in Titus Andronicus. Yes, I've never read Titus Andronicus myself. I need to. That, like, I guarantee you there was one before that, but it was like one of the earliest recorded ones, I think. But the one that sticks out to me all the time is that in Merchant of Venice, a guy is trying to run away with his girl, the daughter of the Jewish merchant of Shylock, and he's trying to run away, I think, with his daughter. And in order to get away, she disguises herself as a guy. And in order to do that, she stole a bunch of like gold and jewelry from her dad. And in order to hide it, she used it. She doubled up on like versatility by stealing this gold, and then she uses the coin pouch and a long gem, and she puts it in her groin to disguise to make a fake dick and balls. And it's like that's Shakespeare. Shakespeare wrote that.
I'm not a fan of The Merchant of Venice for obvious reasons.
The Merchant of Venice is fascinating because for the obvious reasons of like what it does, but you can play it two different ways, because before and after World War II, they were played radically differently. Because before World War II, Shylock was played as the oafish villain for a long period of time. But then you can also then reinterpret it after it was largely reinterpreted as a much more tragic role, because of the number of horrible tragedies that end up befalling him. Like, he's treated as someone who wants to just rightfully get what is his, and which is fair. Like, he doesn't get back any of the money he gave out. The poor guy is cheated out of all his fortune, and then the courts come down horribly on him for being basically a guy that just wants to get back what is owed. Like, it's very interesting how Shakespeare can be recontextualized, and yet none of the words actually changed. It's all upon delivery. And that's one of the things that I find very fascinating about his writing. It's all about the presentation.
Cyril has more character than anyone from Ruby. Yeah, I hate Cyril. I almost said Cyril. I hate Cyril.
Cyril, as I understand it, Cyril's character arc ends before the end of Act 1 and doesn't progress after that. And he still has more character than Ruby.
Yes. Cyril is a punchline. The only Cyril support I remember is, Cyril, don't you miss your homeland? No. It was awful.
Don't you miss your abusive parents? No. Okay, so this is not who sent
this is Hafrican.
This is Hafrican. Okay. All right. First thing to criticize. What the hell is this? This is
so much text.
So much text. Like, also, oh my god. What's the word count on this?
4,400.
What's the word? Okay, we are reading
Sarah
up to the
just
first.
Says, "I love cereal." Thank you, Sarah. Oh yeah, girlfriend chat.
Frog in chat.
Frog in chat.
Okay, so we're reading up to the first break. Hafrican.
All in all, it's another brick in the page.
Namuri Kamiyama had always been a sort of go with the flow kind of woman. What you would want there is like go with the flow in like quotations of some sort, or with dashes between it, either or, maybe both if you really wanted to get the point across. You don't want just kind of woman. At 25 years old, she felt a level of contentment. Okay, and even better, maybe, just maybe, first paragraph break. You leave that first sentence as sort of like a big proclamation of what this piece is going to be about. At 25 years old, she felt a level of contentment that very few of her peers in both work and day-to-day life, again, day-to-day, that's a, is there correction? Click to view suggestions. Day-to-day, there we go. I don't know how this works. Day-to-day life shared. However, lately she has started to feel a sense of longing that had slowly but steadily been growing. I think you could cut this down. However, there was a sense of longing that had steadily been growing within her. Like you could shore that up a little bit.
Yeah.
When she brought it up during her weekly session with her therapist and explained that it had also started messing with her sleep cycle, they decided to also consult her doctor as well. They had discovered that this feeling was the result of her kindred appearance. The kindred, she discovered, this might be another good break. The kindred she discovered was actually that of her maternal bond and not that of a life mate. She had, of course, heard of people who had multiple life mates. Should life mates be hyphenated, maybe? But she wasn't sure she liked the idea of sharing her precious Hisashi Yamada with another. After a few tests like a CAT scan and taking some blood samples, it was confirmed that she would find her kindred within the week, and that by tomorrow, at the latest, a purple string appeared on her pinky finger. It would work the same way as the red string that led her to Hisashi. She had excitedly called Hisashi on her way home, tears of joy streaming down her face as she bobbed and weaved through traffic. I don't know where this is going. This is like the Soulmates IU, I guess. Connecting the call, she added Principal Nezu to update him. The mouse bear dog took the news in stride, congratulating the two pros, offering them... This is the My Hero Academia thing, I take it. Nemuri is... Who is Nemuri? Is Nemuri one of the... Oh, it's Midnight. And who is Hisashi?
Macadamia.
Hisashi.
I know what Sarah wants. I know what Sarah wants me to sing. Yeah, there we go.
So it's Nemuri and Present Mike. Okay, that's an interesting ship. Connecting the call, she added Principal as updated. The Mouse Bear Dog took the news in stride to congratulate the two pros, offering them pros. It's pros, don't need an apostrophe. Offering them the rest of the semester off with pay. That night, Nemuri was sleepless. So many thoughts crowded her mind, vying for her attention. Was essentially their new child a girl or a boy?
What?
I think was their new... Because like, this is a pregnancy string, right? The soulmates thing is like a pregnancy thing. That's what I'm getting from this.
Why does the word essentially have to be there?
Yeah, I don't feel like... Was their new child a girl or a boy? How old were they? Oh, it... Was this like an adoption fic, I guess? I think. Was their new child a girl or boy? How old were they? What were they like? What did they like? Were they allergic to anything? Did they have any health problems? What if they didn't like or accept their bond? What if they didn't like Hisashi? What if she wasn't a good mother? So many questions and uncertainties that she didn't have the answers for. However, all of that was put on the back burner when she walked through the doors of their luscious rooftop apartment. Hisashi, it seemed, was just as restless and excited. By the time she actually found the voice hero, he had cleared out one of the extra rooms that had been used for a storage space and was in the process of putting together a bookshelf combo. A speaker sat in the corner playing lo-fi as the tall, lanky blonde man lay on his back under the nearly finished desk portion. He was working the track for the keyboard tray into place. And there. What do you think, Nemu? Pretty nice, yeah? A lot of missing commas here, man. She smiled at him, walking fully into the room. Quotation here, not there. It looks great, Zashi, but her smile wasn't completely there. Frowning, Hisashi set down the screwdriver on the desk and walked up to his troubled girlfriend. What's going on in that head of yours? Sorry, she sniffed, taking off her glasses and rubbing her eyes. I just got scared and overwhelmed. I mean, we're going to have a kid soon, one that we know nothing about. There's just so much that can go wrong. What if I fail this kid and end up worse than when I met them? I'm scared, and that makes me upset because I feel like I should be ecstatic and jumping for joy. This is something that I've wanted for so long, but I'm just becoming more and more scared. You don't need to keep reiterating that. I know that's character dialogue, and that's a little more varied than what you would typically have, but...
So Password the Third was said it's essential, Molly, and I've never seen anybody spell my name like that. That is a new one.
Molley.
Molliey.
Oh, is that an I? Again, I'm on the... Oh, it is an I. Fucking blurry screen. It's sort of a savior type story. Not really getting that from this.
I just feel like this is like my thing with shipping fanfics, is I feel like I've read this story before with different coats of characters, like 50 times.
I'm not getting anything that's like character specific either from this. Like, it's just sort of like, these are general concerns you would have, and like this is like the general format you would have for the story like this, and then what you do to make it really stand out is color in the character stuff.
Yeah, but what did they do that's a little different from the norm?
Ooh, that's a good prompt idea. 2 stories with the same dialogue but different feels depending on like how you deliver it.
That'd be great.
That's a great prompt.
Thank you, Abe.
Thanks, Abe.
You're doing our job for us.
Have you seen Ruby Alternate by some meme lord called Jerry? Yes, that man is pretentious as fuck.
What is it?
Ruby Alternate is like this. It's similar to Fixing Ruby, but first of all, the guy completely reworks Ruby from the ground up to like, it looks nothing like Ruby. It's like at the end of the day, it's not Ruby. It's just something different. Because, like, he completely restructures Remnant from the ground up. He doesn't, it's not the same. Veil, Mistral, Atlas, Menagerie, none of them exist. Like, they're all completely reworked to be different countries. Ren and Nora are spies. It has a lot of these grimdark fantasies. But the thing that really gets me about this rewrite is that he made a meme of, like, oh, the canon show of Ruby, and then like a fan remake, and it shows like, I can't describe this very well, but it's basically a meme saying, oh, how deep and awesome Ruby Alt is. And if it were made by someone else, I'd be like, that is pretty funny that a fan project went into all this detail and the like. But no, it was made by the guy himself, and it's like, that's cringe, buddy. You are celebrating yourself before you're even off the fucking ground.
The worst Ruby rewrite I've ever seen was this guy that used to be in the Tundra, who had this whole rewrite about like, but in the rewrite there was like some OC he made that he named after his father, so it was named like Paul or some other really mundane name, and Paul was God, and he ruled the entire world. It was absolutely apeshit.
I mean, I'm not going to touch that with a 5-foot pole. 10-foot pole maybe, but 5-foot pole no.
What if I could find it like in my old ass?
2 words, two worlds, same story. No, anime guy. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that you can interpret the story. You can interpret the emotion of the story differently depending on delivery. Like it's based on what I was saying about Shylock. Shylock in Merchant of Venice before World War II was a comedic oaf. After World War II was treated as a tragic figure. And it was all based upon the performance of the role. They didn't actually change any of the dialogue. So somebody used to know me. DM to put Ruby in alt in terms, he killed Ruby towards face off and slapped on a different story. I think the story has potential, but Jerry wants the Ruby faces on it for some reason. Yeah, it's basically with Ruby alt, it literally is just a different story, but with Ruby paint.
I found it. It's from 2018.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
I was aiming for the red string of destiny, but you find the child instead of your life mate. See, that has a weird implication. That'd be kind of really awkward if, like, you get the purple string of fate to your child, and you walk up to some kid who's with his parents. Like, it's like, well, I'm fated to have this kid, so I'm just taking him now.
Oh yeah, he had this idea about an elephant grim that made people's minds explode, and John dies by like tripping over his shoelaces because he really, really hated John.
I mean that one's fair. Sorry, she sniffed. Taking off. Let me finish this. So he said the best thing he could think of. You're 100% right. We're going into this blind, and I'd be lying through my teeth if I said I wasn't going crazy thinking about who we will eventually meet. So why don't we cover our bases as well as we can? Help me finish the room, and while we can do that, we can plan to make a list of what to do for each situation we can think of. Oh yeah, lists are good. Organize, compartmentalize. That's the spirit. Now let's start off our biggest worry of what's the worst case scenario. I think compartmentalization, I've really come to hate compartmentalization. I think it's a really bad act to compartmentalize. Makes you very, very inflexible. Another example of this is the second opening of JoJo Part 4, Chase You. You've mentioned JoJo. I now am going to ignore your comment. So John is Guan? Gown?
Gone.
Gone. Oh,
John
is
gone.
Oh. Hates John. Yes. That's fair. Makes overpowered self-insert. That is less fair. That is hilarious. Yes.
Also, like, all 4 main characters were dead and it was a sequel.
But yeah, Hafrican, I'm going to say I'm not impressed with this. Like, you tell us at the very beginning what kind of character she is, but then, like, I don't know. I don't see any of that coming through, really. Like, I don't see any of that conflicting with what's currently going on with her. You just sort of, like, she immediately adapts to the situation. Okay, well, the last one is Phoenix writing prompts to fulfill my purpose. This is by Nami Nom Noms. Molly, you'll take this one because my voice is getting tired.
Okay. The following is created on the prompt from Mr. Dr. Raymond of McNeil, the Celtic Phoenix and most renowned rubier of the Rube lands, and Madame Molly, the mightiest master of rhyme. They have prompted the deconstruction of tropes. Ah, and Sarah's here. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Stream's almost done. Don't worry, babe.
No, don't worry. Take your time.
Here, in the meantime, you can play Pokemon Go and catch all the Beedus you want.
Oh, thank you.
How's work?
Good.
Sadly, Sarah's hello reminds me of
molasses.
Kira's.
You want something?
I just
While
hear
you're
Sarah in the
overgrown
background. I was like, hello. It's like, hello again.
Hello. No, it's not. You're not imitating Pyrrha if it doesn't sound like you're about to cry at literally every line delivery. Hello again.
Hey, I actually liked her vocal performance for the most part. I think direction could have used a little bit of work.
I'm sorry, because we're talking about Pyrrha's voice, I just have to. None of this makes sense! This isn't how things were supposed to happen!
God, fucking... I blame the directors on that, because, like, she's delivered some good lines before. I fucking hate the voice direction in Ruby.
Ilya, what are you doing?
Remember me? Fucking, like, yes, Ruby, the assassin is here to kill you. Why are you surprised?
Ruby, are you okay? No. I'm angry. Everyone's putting frogs in chat, by the way.
Hey, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. My tropes are simply the first thing I found while utilizing Google, the Dark Lord and the Chosen Hero. I'm subverting the trope of prophecy, if that counts. It's in the Bible, so I assume it's a trope. It's surprisingly easy to type over 1,000 words, apparently, and it is unsurprisingly hard to rewrite. I'm also not sure if you filled the prompt correctly. Either way, I hope this is enjoyed. Opening. The Chosen One, Sir Edmund of Vitabona, has infiltrated the palace of Umbrarum, where the Dark Lord is believed to reside. Here Edmund, with his legendary sword, Exequi, and his allies Gordon the Titan, title only, he's just a large human, Ogre the Scavenger, Juliana the Other One, and Jenna the Friend, tower the castle in hope of fulfilling Edmund's destiny long foretold.
Okay, well, this is setting a very comedic tone. I'm kind of enjoying that.
As they march up the stairs, a well-dressed, tall, and incredibly pale woman is descending with a stern look on her face. Silence yourselves, she orders them. That should be not capital.
Also, tense got messed up there pretty bad. I think.
Let's see. Because this is the first part of the not opening. You are disturbing the whole castle, and put away your swords. It's dangerous to run without hesitation. Edmund severs the neck of the woman in an instant. The party continues ascending until they reach the top floor. They turn and find a great door at the end of the massive hallway. Another pink-armored, deathly-looking creature spots them. Now hold it. We can't allow visitors up here. Again, Edmund cuts down the inhuman, humanoid beast. Down the Great Hall, other guards swear profanities. Holy crap, are we under attack? One cries. I don't know. They cutting us down and stuff, so probably, one drowsily responded to its horrid allies. With little difficulty, Edmund slices through each one like a spoon into milk. One walking towards the large doors with a bright yellow board turns and yelps. It lifts the object it's holding for protection, but it is cleaved as easily as the creature itself. The group finds themselves at the doors. This is it, Edmund thinks. Today the Dark Lord falls. Today my destiny is fulfilled. Gordon opens the massive doors. Gordon throws the massive doors open, and they all rush into a nearly empty room. Across they see a large ornate desk with papers blanketing it. To their left they see a small child wearing a deep purple dress and glowing tiara. Oh my, visitors! Oh geez, oh gosh, I'm sorry. Her face grew flustered, and she clumsily put a book she's holding back onto the shelf next to her. She begins walking toward the desk as she continues to speak. If I knew we had guests arriving, I would have cleaned up hours ago. Child, I am not here for talk, Edmund interrupts. Where is the Dark Lord of the castle? Oh, she responds, her flusteredness exchanging for gloom. You mean, my father. I regret to inform you, but my father, Dark Lord, he passed away last week. The party freezes in shock. The great Dark Lord, the monster who has slaughtered and oppressed so many they've never known, is already dead? You're kidding me? Edmund questions. I'm sorry, my advisor informed me his age has finally caught up to him. We've been preparing to announce it to the kingdom tomorrow as there's so much we must do. The girl takes a deep breath and turns gloom into determination. But don't worry, I, Darkenia Lord, will take responsibility for everything my father was responsible for. Whatever thing you need, I'll help you. So, Edmund begins, his body trembling with uncertainty, all the burdens of the Dark Lord fall to you. Yes, she declares. So, what Edmund tightens his grip on Exequi. He turns a glare to Darkenia. So be it, the hero raises his sword and charges the princess. Her eyes go wide. No, wait, she pleads. Don't run. As she begins her sentence, the floor beneath Edmund gives up on friction and he loses all control to stand. After seconds of flailing, he spins into the air, throwing Exequi upward and falling onto the moist ground like a rock onto another rock. A noise begins echoing in Edmund's skull. As he opens his eyes, he spots a bright glint of light before a sudden pain fills his chest. The air evaporated from Edmund's body. He tilts his head to see Exequi lodged into his chest. His throat began. I guess he didn't finish that sentence. But my purpose. His friends shock become horror as they see Edmund's body become lifeless. Tears erupted from Janna's eyes as she screamed his name. She runs to his side. Darkenian's distress continues as she sees her. Wait, no, please don't run. As Janna runs, her feet give way, sending her sliding over to Edmund's body. While she attempts to pick herself up, her head feels a sudden... Oh no, no, oh gosh, oh no. Gardenia's heart? Did you mean Darkenia? Or did it autocorrect? Anyway. Gardenia's heart continues to race out of her body. She lifts her dress over her ankles and carefully hurries to the bodies.
I think it's Darkenia.
I knew I should... What?
It was Darkenia, just from the context, yeah.
Oh, okay. I knew I should have made Nigel bring up the wet floor sign before we started cleaning. Okay. Oh, that was the guy holding the yellow board. Oh, okay. She repeats to herself, patting her cheeks. It's okay. Lady Medica, I guess French? I don't know. Has healed similar wounds. She was heading down the stairs only a few minutes ago, of course. She trots past the bodies and speaks past the other strangers in her office. Guards, please go get Medica, and quickly. She breathed an uneasy sigh as she faced the company of the two bodies behind her. So, no worries. My advisor is a very experienced healer. Your friends will be fine. So, while we wait, may I ask your business here? The group stands in silence until Ogre decides to break it. Man, that was crazy. Can't believe my grandpappy was right about that prophecy thing. Well, see ya. And there's removed content.
Oh wow, that's a lot of removed content.
Yeah. As for what it is, I think it's very, very funny.
Yeah.
Like,
I enjoyed that all the way through. It's a good thing to end on.
Yeah, it's one, again, you have a really good setup with the punchline that everybody they killed on the way up would have actually helped them.
I mean, I want to know more about this kingdom though. Like, is it an evil kingdom? Is it not? Like, are they just like, that's the thing that's like in the back of my head is like, is this still an evil kingdom though? Like, are they just being polite because they're polite people, but they're still evil? Like, down in the bottom of this castle, there's like a bunch of enslaved people or something like that. Like, is that going on, or is it legitimately a case of we think they're evil, so we go kill them? This is actually really well done. I love it.
Yeah, there's some minor like technical stuff, but
yeah.
for like a comedy piece, it's very good.
Floor here.
All right, I think we should
start
start wrapping things up.
Yeah, I'm starting to drain. This is getting hot in here weathering this. So yes, thank you all so much for joining us. We had a blast. These are some great stories. Some people needed some work, but that's okay. That's always okay. Our next prompt is going to be, of course, basically double entendre. We'll call it that as the topic name. But the idea is that you have a conversation, or at least one character or something that's written in one way that can be interpreted in another. So basically, it can be interpreted.
I think this is the one prompt. This is going to be the one prompt where you could go a little bit over that 750 words, because it's hard to write something that short and get that double it up. So.
Yeah, a good way, a good suggestion for this. Also, I just realized I have the highlight thing. That's what it did. That's what it was. Okay, did that uncenter things? Okay. The way that I would use the suggestion is like, think of like a miscommunication. Like, I said to take care of them. And then, of course, like, the guy ends up killing them. Think of, like, the double meaning. Like, oh, go take care of these puppies. And it's like, oh, right, ma'am. I'll go do that. And he goes out and he kills them. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I meant go feed them like puppy chow. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like think like that kind of miscommunication, but literally like the entire thing. That is the kind of stuff you're looking for. Let's go. I've worked from 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. tomorrow, so I can't make it all the way. Yeah, that's a shame, man. Hopefully you can catch on at some point to Bad Fanfiction Night. It's very educational. I have a bad fanfiction night video that I've been putting together. I've never had time to finish it. So, I wanted to take them to Disneyland or something. What the heck? Yeah, exactly. Wow, Corella's really covered my sense of things recently. Eats, shoots, and leaves. Exactly. Pandas in the dictionary. They eat, shoots, and leaves. Anyway. Thank you all so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast. Remember that for $1 or more, you get access to the Team Frostbite Discord server where I'm regularly active, Fatman's really active, Molly is taking a break.
Pending on me not having a breakdown every 2 months, I am active.
Yeah, she's taking a brief break from it for a little bit, but she'll be back eventually, I think.
Yeah, I will.
But yeah, a lot of us, we'd love to have you guys there. There's Bad Fanfiction Night every single Friday night. Typically, that last week I had to break because of vacation. But yes, join us there, and we'll catch you all on the flip side.